are. You just have to say that you're fine, and you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of LackLuster Gaming, the show for those who love to game but know they're mediocre at best. And today we got a little bit different of a format. We're going to go over the best Lumberjack deck that I've played with to date. So let's check out the deck. Now, as you can see on screen, the deck consists of the Fire Spirits, the Fireball, the Balloon, the Mega Minion, the Heal Spell, the Hog, the Lumberjack, of course, because it's the best Lumberjack deck, and the Barbarians. Now, I know a lot of you guys are not at Hog Mountain yet. In fact, the Lumberjack is unlocked at Arena 8, so it's very possible that you don't have a Mega Minion that's level up high enough, or have even unlocked the Heal Spell. If that's the case for you, I advise you to add in something like the Baby Dragon, or the Goblin Gang if you've unlocked it. Now, if you don't have the Heal Spell, this deck actually lacks some air defense, so I would advise you to either use the arrows or the archers as a viable replacement. So with the deck out of the way, let's get into some ideas on how to actually use this deck. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can use this deck, and one of the ways that I like to use it is just using one of your win conditions like the Hog or the Balloon in conjunction with the Heal Spell. Now look at this. Our opponent has nothing that they can defend with except for those arrows, and because of that, that Hog is able to knock that tower all the way down to 666 health.
Are you sure about that?
Now, of course, the same exact rules apply when you're using the Heal Spell in conjunction with a Balloon. Just on its own, you know your enemy's got nothing to defend with, especially their air defenses. And there you go, Balloon making it all the way to the tower. And if it wasn't for that Ice Spirit, it would have completely taken out the tower all the way down to 0. Pretty powerful push. Now, the reason that this deck is so powerful is because of the Lumberjack specifically. Now, watch as we use the Lumberjack first. You always want to deploy that Lumberjack first. Make sure it runs up into the front so that everything is targeted onto that Lumberjack. Because, essentially, you want it to die so that he drops the Rage spell and rages out either your Balloon or your Hog Rider, getting it to the tower to do some substantial damage in a short period of time. The other beautiful thing about this deck is that you've got 2 win conditions, and because of that, if right after one push, you just push again with your Hog Rider, and usually you can catch your enemies off guard. Now, with the Mega Minion, the Barbarians, and the Lumberjack, this deck is pretty intense when it comes to defense. So, a lot of times, for Graveyard specifically, or even some big tank beatdown decks, I'll use the Lumberjack as a defensive tool, and then it'll run out because of its speed. It always gets out to the front, and then it dies right away. Send a Hog Rider in right after it, and boom, there you go. Tons of damage, and again, if it wasn't for the Ice Spirit, but you're gonna have to deal with everything on the books. The time that you're gonna have the biggest advantage with this deck is during double elixir, right there. This is when this deck really shines because you can start using 3 cards at a time. Typically, I like to send in that Lumberjack first, make sure everything's targeting it, send in a Balloon or a Hog Rider, and then healing it. Now, in that particular case, we didn't get too much damage because our enemy was ready. They had a lot of defenses towards what we were pushing out. But in a situation like this, where all they've got is a Knight, no more elixir to waste, basically, we're able to get that Hog Rider all the way to the tower and heal it up and almost take out the tower completely. If executed flawlessly, you'll luck out. Your opponent will place a pump, so they got 4 elixir to defend. Hopefully none of that is air. Send in your Lumberjack, send in a Balloon immediately afterwards, heal both of them. Keep the Lumberjack in that heal spell as well. Don't let it die just yet, because we're going to want to use that rage once we get to that King Tower. And look how much damage we're going to inflict on this guy just with one single push, because we rushed. Rushing is definitely a huge technique using this deck. Now, first things first, as we jump into our replays here, I want to remind you that elixir conservation is key. Now, positive elixir trades are definitely viable, and with the Fire Spirits, the Fireball, and a couple of your other tools, you'll be able to sustain quite a few. However, keeping your elixir high is the key to winning with this deck. Not only does it allow you a large defense, but it allows you a large offense. And because most of your pushes are either going to be with the Lumberjack first, that's 3 elixir, the Hog Rider with 4 elixir equaling 7, and then possibly a heal spell on top, that's 10 elixir. And if you're using the balloon, it makes it 11. So you definitely want to make sure you sustain a large amount of elixir and wait. Just be patient. You don't have to put stuff on the field. Sometimes it's better to wait and just stick it out, see what your opponent's going to do, and just try to do these little counter pushes. Those are usually the best, in my opinion. If you're using the Lumberjack as a counter push, you know, you chop down whatever they send at you, most likely a Hog Rider on its own or something like that. You know that they've wasted a little bit of elixir. You've got a 1 elixir positive trade from the issue, and then you send in that Hog Rider right behind the Lumberjack as it advances on your enemy tower, and you're pretty much golden right there. So let's take a look at this match right here. This is against Dane Degata. He's part of the LackLuster YT main clan, by the way. If you need a clan, we've got 3 of them. We need people in LackLuster YT 2 and LackLuster YT 3. The names of the clans are down in the description below. Go check those out. So, right here, just a little bit of back and forth. Nobody's really making any big moves, but I've got 1 tower down on Dane, and it's looking pretty good for me, but I get a little too cocky and I start pushing behind his Executioner, allowing that Executioner at full health to do tons of damage on our tower. Now, we do use that Lumberjack as a defensive weapon again, and boom, boom, doesn't make it. Otherwise, I would have dropped the balloon, and sometimes it's okay to soak up that last little bit of rage right there that's left on the field, even if it's in the middle, because the rage effect does last for a second or two after whatever unit is soaking up that rage gets out of the rage circle. So the balloon, I love it. I kind of wish that they would have kept the I mean, I hate it at the same time. Don't get me wrong. I love using the balloon. I hate going up against the balloon because it's kind of cheap. If you don't have air defenses like this deck, for example, you only have the Mega Minion and the Fire Spirits and the Fireball. But those aren't really like viable defenses to something like a Lava Loon deck. So be careful going up against those guys. But using the balloon as an actual defensive weapon used to be a great option back in the day, especially against people that use the 3 Musketeers. You could pop a balloon right in front of them, the balloon would drop, and it would actually kill all the Musketeers, but it's recently been nerfed, and now the death damage of the balloon actually doesn't do as much as it used to. So here we go with another great example of utilizing the Lumberjack's Rage spell in conjunction with your win condition, the Hog Rider, and then planting that heal spell on him last second, so just before he dies. And you're gonna mess this up, and you'll see that I mess it up sometimes too, and you'll drop that heal spell right after your unit dies, and it doesn't soak up any health at all. Kind of losing you 3 elixir, but that's okay. You just got to learn the timing, just try it out. It might take you a little bit of time to figure it out completely. But here, again, with a great example, Lumberjack dies. Now we've got a Hog Rider and a balloon going towards the tower, using that heal spell to keep both of them alive. That balloon will get 1 and 2 drops onto the tower, giving us that 3 crown victory. Pretty golden. Let's get into another one just to see exactly how to do this right. Alright, here we are. Match number 2. This is now in a classic challenge against Cap So we got the Lumberjack and a Balloon Rush. This is the one that we showed you earlier in the intro. Lumberjack makes it to the tower. This guy's got nothing to defend with, and then we plant the heal spell, getting that heal spell onto the Lumberjack so that the Lumberjack is actually the one to fully take out that building, and it survives all the way to the King Tower, and that's where it drops its rage, and the balloon, almost at full health right there, is able to plant 2 bombs and deal some death damage onto that tower. Now we're going to use our Hog Rider this time in conjunction with the Fireball to do some damage onto that Barbarian hut, because those can be a serious problem. They're not a lot of fun to go up against. Now luckily the Barbarians, the first one split, so we're having to work with like a split ratio of Barbarians at the moment. We'll use our Mega Minion just to defend against those, knock him out of the way, and he's dropping the 3 Musketeers. Now we just used our Fireball fireball on that barbarian hut, so we know we need to cycle back to it. But check this out. The barbarians, you get 4 of them for 5 elixir. You drop them right on top of the 2 on the left side, and then on the right side, we're just going to have to take a little bit of damage, but luckily that Lumberjack hightails it back to the Hog Rider and takes it out, which now I've got a Lumberjack headed towards the tower. You know what that means. I'm going to get that rage spell planted. There it is, and as the rage is still on the field, we'll drop the Hog Rider to make sure that the Hog Rider gets to the King's Tower as quickly as possible. Gets stalled up by that Ice Spirit for a second, but we'll drop a heal, and boom, just like that, look at him, keeping him consistently at the same health, taking that tower all the way down into the 400s. And there we go. All we need is 2 fireballs. However, the only problem with this is that we need those fireballs for those 3 musketeers. Otherwise, we'll get taken over really quickly. So we need to be extremely careful when and how we use it. Now again, using the Lumberjack as our defense, and we're going to drop some barbarians right on top of that barb hut, try to take it out, get it out of there early. We're going to fireball this time against those 3 musketeers. Now he's got 3 musketeers, a Hog Rider, and we're going to use the balloon as a defensive weapon. Now it drops, and the bomb explodes. It takes out 2 of those musketeers, not all 3 like I would have wished, but that's a great way and a great example of what I was talking about earlier, using the balloon as a defensive weapon. It used to work really good against minions. It still kind of does as long as you get it in front of them. It has to die in front of the minion's path. They can't surround it, because then they'll leave, they'll get out of that bomb's destruction range. So, there we go again, balloon, boom. It only does a little bit of damage to the 1 musketeer, but that's okay. Even if this guy ties it up, we're gonna be alright, because at this point, all we need is 1 more fireball, and we're just cycling down to it now. There it is, fireball, sling it for the win. Easy money, 3-crown victory, just like that. That's 2 actually, now that I've shown you. 2 3-crown victories. Let's get into match 3. So here we are, match 3. This is actually an example of using the deck in 2v2. Now, my opponent, you're going to have to see his deck. Unfortunately, I cut it, and you're unable to see what he's using exactly, but we know he's got the pump. And I like to start off with something slow-moving in the back behind the King Tower, just to see if I can maybe utilize it against whatever's coming in, or build up a big push behind it, or just right in front of it, depending on how my cards cycle in. But now, as you can see my hand, I've got a pretty awesome hand to work with. So I've got the Hog Rider, and it looks like I'm looking to use it right off the bat. Now we've got this this cannon down, so unfortunately they've got a defense against us. But at this point, this is what we're gonna do. Popping down that ice golem, putting the Lumberjack right behind it. Look at that Lumberjack. It's going to get targeted right away. It's going to get killed pretty quickly. We're going to drop a heal spell on top of that Hog Rider, which unfortunately is out of the range of the Lumberjack's rage spell, but still does some pretty decent damage to that tower. So, not too bad considering how much our enemies spent on defending that push, and we still came up on top as far as HP damage done. So, board is reset, and like I said, maintain your elixir. You know, as soon as it hits 10, drop something, but try to keep it up as close to 10 as possible. And now our big push over here, we've got a Hog Rider, an Ice Golem, and the balloon. The Ice Spirit stops the balloon, but the balloon finally takes out that cannon, and the balloon unfortunately will not make it to the tower, but that's alright. Now we're having to deal with that P.E.K.K.A. on the right-hand side. We take it out, no problem. Now we got a bunch of bats and nothing really major coming up, but now our opponent, or our teammate drops the 3 musketeers. I'm just assuming that the cry face was because he wanted to split and he was 1 tile off. And luckily we dropped down 2 Hog Riders and an Ice Golem, and we heal. And because of that, that lightning didn't touch those musketeers. And with the heal spell on top of all of that, rage it all out. It looks like we're headed towards a 3-crown victory. At least, if we continued to go that route, it would have been a pretty easy 3-crown victory just with that 1 push. But I had to throw that fireball on the left side to take out those 2 musketeers. And then, of course, the bandit to take care of that miner. So they did a really good job, our opponents did, of diffusing our elixir across the map so that we couldn't focus it on that King Tower. But now they've tied it up, They've got our 1 tower down, but we're still doing pretty good. I got the rage spell down, and I get the... oh, there you go. There's another mistake from the heal spell right there. But we did rage out that balloon, and if we would have gotten the heal on time, we would have no problem won the match right there. But instead, 3 muskies in the pocket will do the deal, and that's it. Game over. Too easy. Too easy. Too easy. Alright guys, if you liked the video, make sure you give me a thumbs up or something. Do the like stuff. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel. I love doing stuff like this. And let me know down below if you like the new format with the whole deck description and also the different ways how to use it prior to going into the matches. If you like that, we'll keep it up. If not, we'll scrap it. It's all up to you. I love you guys. I'll see you next time. Peace out.